carry Shepard Fairey's prints and Banksy's prints. Mr. Brainwash was our neighbor, and he would come and film, and all the up-and-coming actors and models were there. It was kind of like a scene without even trying. I don't want my stuff to be for rich people or for like Asian kids only or for Mexican kids only or for black kids only. I want people that see it and they're like, this is cool and this is gonna make my outfit of the day look rad. And that is what I'm really passionate about.
Oh yeah, we're gonna clap. Cool. So we decided to come back and do a part 2 of our first episode with Miguel, the owner of Rcnstrct and many other things. We have more to chat about, more to expand on. So let's get into it, shall we?
Yeah, we kind of left too many things on the loose.
Well, we also touched on so many things, like there were so many tangents. One of the things that I was most interested in coming back to was this whole previous store where it seems like a lot of the nexus of your culture comes from. Like we're all a part of like these bigger cultures, right? Whether it's hip hop or street or whatever, but like there's some sort of culture that you always speak of that involves a lot of like people I'm very familiar with, or like famous artists and DJs and stuff, but just seems to be there was some sort of swirl happening, and I believe it was Barracuda.
Right.
And it was right down the street,
right
across from the high school, the iconic Fairfax High School, which everybody knows about at this point. And then there was this iconic wall, which is now like an iPhone ad, basically.
Right.
But even when I first started coming to LA, I knew that as like a very particular wall where very important art was happening, and statements were being made, and that's obvious why Apple, right, consumed that wall, right? How does this wall transpire? Let's start with that, because Barracuda is a whole topic, but like, how does this wall transpire into this kind of nexus for you, and bringing artists in and getting to know them and having them do this wall?
Barracuda was across the street, one street over. And we used to carry Shepard Fairey's prints and Banksy's prints. And Mr. Brainwash was our neighbor, and he would come and film, and
He's the exit through the gift shop guy?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes. Actually, he used to run this building, and Space Invader and all these people used to do a lot of work in here because he used to like have his studio here. So all this, this is why where Rcnstrct is, always had Space Invaders and a lot of interesting artists like JR and everything. So he's always been involved. He was filming. He was always around, He's cousins of Space Invader, and he was friends with like Andre and a bunch of other artists. And they would like go into Barracuda, and I would sell all that stuff, and that's how I started to get to know everybody. Then our lease ran out. We moved to the big Barracuda across the street, and for a while it was just sitting there. But every time any of these cool artists would come to the store, they would be like, bro, but their dream would be to do this wall. And it became like a thing where like Shepard Fairey started painting it, then JR, then...
But like with Shepard Fairey though, how does it happen? Are you like, yo, throw something up there?
No.
Or...
So it really, thinking about it, it really started, my friend Jamie O'Shea, he was the editor of Juxtapost magazine. So a friend introduced us, and my friend Gaston, that does Meltdown now, and ComplexCon, introduced me to Jamie. And Jamie lived in San Francisco. He used to work at the headquarters of Thrasher magazine. I met Fausto. He brought me in and everything. And then he moved here, and he was like, bro, start going to these art shows with me, because he was a buyer of people like the president of Nike or like Armstrong, or like super heavy hitters that were collecting art. So I was his plus one, because we would just go, and then from there we'd go out. And Jamie basically put me on all these galleries and this artist, And one of them was Shepard Fairey, which at that time he was friends with Jamie. And Shepard Fairey did the wall. And after a while, Shepard was like, all these artists would come to Shepard and were like, hey, where's a cool wall? So he would call us, and his studio number one would come with their team, which are still my friends, and they would help out whoever was in town. And like London Police, like I don't want to like start naming them because there's so many. Every week there was a different artist painting the wall.
Name it, roll a few off. I would love to hear who's some more.
I mean, through that I met like Tim Biscuit, Gary Basement. All the Beautiful Losers came and did the wall. Mr. Cartoon. Stevan, I met through that era, Stevan Oriol. At first, they would come and do graffiti inside, or like Mike Giant would do a pop-up. My friend MD would, and I did he produced a Michael Lau in my store. He's like the godfather of collectibles. He's kind of like my mentor. He's a good friend, MD, and he's always been bringing heat to like, to whatever I do. He's always been very supportive and helped me with everything, like from even labels, tags, and stuff. So, I mean, we're friends. And even those days, he brought Michael Lau. He made all this merch for him. We had the most beautiful art show. So he raised the bar, and then everybody was coming in. And you know, in 2008, things got expensive, so we started renting it and collaborating with brands that we were scared that brands weren't going to be able to be exposed by themselves. We had the art with it. So we started renting and making a little bit of money to pay the rent and the operation of the store by using the wall with murals and everything. It's really interesting. I one day want to do like an art show or a photo book of all these things. Inside, gated, there was a parking lot where we had a mini ramp and we had bands and DJs perform. Like will.i.am used to come in, and like Justice, and just random, like super pop stuff and super underground stuff. Diplo used to come in, like, I mean, Virgil came, you know, all the pro skaters, Hosoi, and all the up and coming, all the kids from Brooklyn Projects would skate a little bit here and then they would go there. It kind of became like a community thing, and we didn't even think about the risk because we were just trying to get all the cool kids in there, and all the, like, you know, up and coming actors and models were there. It was kind of like a scene without even trying. We were basically welcoming everybody, and then brands starting to realize that the energy was there, and they would give us all this product in consignment. They would fight to get in there because that meant that they would be in other stores if Barracuda had the product, you know. And then the artists were like, well, I want to be up there. You know, like, I want to use this wall. Like, I remember Retna got mad at me one time because he wanted to paint the wall, and I always wanted him to paint it. I love his work, but I couldn't cover. The artists would have to cover their own art and go, because there would be drama if not, you know. And we were very lucky.
What was Melrose at that time? We're talking 07, 06?
We were talking from 21 to 08.
Okay, so let's stretch that first decade of the 2000s. Was it this this intersection now where it's like you got these Australian dudes fresh off the plane, and you got these Japanese dudes, you got everybody from around the world just landed in LA and they're on Melrose? Was it that in the early 2000s? Did you have that kind of global foot traffic, or was it still this kind of like LA iconic spot, but it wasn't under the microscope of the global, you know, trend-making scene, if you will?
Even when I first got to the original store, Blue Demon, and then turned to Barracuda, there was like people from the Middle East shopping, you know. There was a lot of Japanese, a lot of Chinese. It was it was easier to travel in those years.
You think it was easier to travel?
I guess because it was like right when 9/11 happened. So there was not restrictions. It was packed. Everybody talks about the 90s Melrose. I would come see it, but the 2000s was really interesting, and there was a lot of energy. Even now, I mean, to say it's bad, like you said last time, at the end of the thing, everybody from all over the world comes to check it out. They're looking for the original, like LA, even if they're buying in Beverly Hills or in 3rd Street or any other neighborhood, they at least drive through Melrose and check things out.
Yeah.
So, instead of complaining, I think I should embrace it, and because at the end of the thing, there is always, even through COVID, there was always international travelers. Then we always get like the up and coming musicians, and and they kind of look for that underground scene. And to be honest, we are. So
what happens in between Barracuda closing it down, right? Economic period gets insane, right? Really shitty, that 07, 08, 09. Then we have this shop open in 17. So that's about a good 8 years. What's happening in those 8 years for you professionally, store-wise, creatively? What's going down? That's a good chunk of time
it is,
for things
it is.
to happen.
It got really interesting. So 2008 and 9, 7 and 8 and 9, I partner up with my friends Eduardo, he was the creative director of Coachella, and Jaime Camille, my good friend. He's like a novela actor from back in Mexico, and now he's a huge actor here. And because we weren't selling anything, we turned Barracuda into a boxing club. And the art kept going, and the wall kept going until 2009, when it was time to release renew the lease. Everybody was like, dude, we don't want to renew a $15,000 thing. So we kind of gave it back to the landlord, and the landlord started renting it for $10,000 a wall, like the actual wall by itself, and it's still there. He gets $20,000 for the wall now. No art needed, So, I mean, but it was a blessing, and this is what happened. I kept connecting and going to the art scene. That's where I met my partner from US Alteration, Candy. And I started learn. That's how I became a garmento. Those 5 years is like, I learned how to dye clothing. I messed up a bunch of production from our line.
What do you mean you messed up? Like
Well, I didn't know. I mean, I had a good taste of what I wanted, but we didn't know how to make clothes. So we partner up and we did a bunch of stuff, and a lot of it was great. And we did like a pop-up, and we were selling. We sold at Union. We did collaborations with Born and Raised and a bunch of other people, right? But at first, I didn't know how to make clothes. We were just taking vintage clothes and repurposing, and then we started making a basic line. And then we made a lot of mistakes and learned from it. But now, thanks to all those mistakes, I became kind of like a connoisseur. I've made so many mistakes that I've learned. It was like going to college again. Like, I've learned how to like make a pattern, to like check out shrinkage, to work with denim, like from scratch, all the processes. Learned about every military thing, every denim thing.
And were you selling everything online, or is it? Or
No. I would go to downtown in the morning.
Yeah.
I still do. We have our little factory in downtown. But I basically would go drive up there all in the morning, and then go to US Alteration and sell. And
we're talking 12, 13, 14, these years.
11,
Yeah.
12, 13, 14,
Okay.
15. Yeah.
Okay, I see. Okay.
So the 17th, I was like, I want to make stuff for the kids that are priced cheaper than, and more accessible. So we had both. And US Alteration still works by appointment, and Rcnstrct is more for like kids and stuff.
Well, I'm curious real quick, because this is going to be a sidebar, but like this whole topic about what kind of work you want to make and how it's priced. It's an interesting topic, because I feel like most people want to get to this point, at least you're in LA, you're in New York, wherever you are, London, like you want to get to this point where it's like, no, like my work's got to cost 20 grand, only curators and art dealers can access it and this and that.
Look, because I'm so involved and I'm like older now, I understand. Like, to me, the most important thing about at least Rcnstrct is to dress kids. It doesn't matter if you're making a little. To me, it's a pleasure to make things for kids that are from all over the world that go into the world and wearing my stuff. That is a satisfaction that is like priceless, right? And then there's these guys that come from Dubai or from different countries of the world and buy the stuff for retail and they resell it for $1,000. So my ego gets happy because they're selling it for that price. And people bought it. And celebrities from America, from Los Angeles, end up buying this stuff, you know? So that's amazing. And they're like, well, if you're selling it for this cheap, and I'm selling it and you're like, no, because to get it this cheap, you have to come to the store and experience it, you know? The way that we price things in the store is the amount of work that they have and what they're made of. Like if it's made out of a grail or something that's going to be collectible and it took them 5 hours, it's probably going to be worth way more money than something that we just cut and just run that we do automatically. A lot of the people that do repurpose sell their stuff for $800 and they just sit on it. To me, what I really like is to dress 100 kids and then go them out there and they'll pass it to their girlfriend, give them to their friends. I think the same way for art. I've never done an art show, but like I paint stuff and people are like, oh, can I have that? And I'm like, yeah. And like, I'm like, okay, well, they bought like 10 things from me and they want it in their crib or like whatever. And I'll make something for Christmas for people and I give them away and everything. And that doesn't mean like I'm gonna try to, you know, to me it's just energy, you know? I mean, I don't know. You're asking me, I'm thinking. I make a lot of stuff for people that pay for making things for $100 that sell it for $1,000. And there's nothing wrong with that because they have to pay marketing, they have to pay their loft where they're working, their studio. And the celebrity sometimes feels like if it's not, they don't have the security to wear something that is like $200 or $100. So for them to look or feel the best of themselves, they need to go to a certain brand that says, oh, this was a vintage Levi's that's $5,000, like a Chrome Hearts. There's people that come in and they're like, dude, I love your stuff for what it is, and they wear it on the main stage on Coachella, like, you know? Because they know. So there's no rules. I mean, I see my stuff on resale more expensive than what we sell it for.
But do you get the sense that, you know, based off of the people that I know that come in here, particularly the people you're talking about, the people who are on stage at Coachella, you know, very well-known people in their own fields come in here and shop and pick up clothes, you know, and I almost feel like you defy this concept of like pricing, because I do feel, you know, I've been in different art galleries and, you know, out here, and you go in and it's like, you got to knock on the door. You know, they got to unlock it for you to even get in, just to check it out, right? And then it's just like the prints are priced super high, and it's like, you know, people are going to buy them though because they're creating an environment where like everything here is expensive, therefore everything here is good, therefore this is where you guys should shop because it all works out that way. Like, and do you feel like that still applies? Do you feel like that's changing? Do you feel like
I feel that it applies, and that's the system. For example, Banksy or KAWS, I notice how organized and how particular they go where their art goes. And that's the difference between different artists. And they're calculative and they package perfectly, and it's basically a perfect, like even Murakami is very organized in who their art goes. They follow it, they have it. And there's brands that do that, and that's great. And look, they're super successful. So that formula actually works. It takes a lot of work, passion, and years to build something into that. But in my mind, I think of myself, what I'm interested in is something like what Vivienne Westwood did back in the day with McLaren in London, that sex store, you know? That people find these pieces and they became grail, and now the people even frame them, you know? Like, my fantasy is that people with good taste find this piece that was incredibly collectible, or a grail, or something from Americana, and that someone went and washed it, cleaned it, disinfected, printed on it, labeled it, and it became a thing. I don't want the feeling of like that snobbiness. I don't want my stuff to be for rich people, or for like Asian kids only, or for Mexican kids only, or for black kids only, or for like pretentious kids. I want people that see it and they're like, this is cool, and this is gonna make my outfit of the day look rad. And that is what I'm really passionate about. Same with my photography, same with my and all my friends, I'm the one that, like, I have the craziest store. It's too much. It's overwhelming. But they love me and we're good. And a lot of my friends have beautiful, curated like stores and offices, or are minimalist, or like, you know, they're all, but together we love each other's weirdness. And, you know, I know a lot of artists that are crazy. Maybe that's why I got inspired. You know, people that just do like crazy stuff, and then they put it on a beautiful, clean wall, and it becomes a crazy piece of art. And I'm the opposite. But I get along with all versions of it. It's just this store and the art that is in here is supposed to be for everyone.
Well, what's cool is that you I think you approach this whole thing more as a creative director, or a curator, if you will, than a businessman. I mean, this is clearly a business. But what I like is that if there's any similarity between you and I think that like this process we're talking about like making sure all your T's are crossed, your I's are dotted in terms of presentation, right? The squares are super sharp, the edges are super sharp, everything's good. I don't mean on the work itself. I just mean on the presentation, you know, whatever the packaging might be, however you present yourself, be it a shop, be it a website, whatever. That stuff actually hurts my brain. If I'm not exploding and just letting shit fly out, Jackson Pollock style, hurts my fucking brain, you know? And like, that's why I love walking in the store, because it's like you walk in the places which have products you like and you want to check out, but like something about the over curation, yeah, we're hearing that, I'm sure. The over curation hurts my brain, and I think it's the opposite of art. I think it's the opposite of creativity, is when you start trying to take the nature out of shit and overly design it. Hey, design's a whole other art form. I don't want to knock it, but like when you're trying to meticulously design something with intention of how people see it, and you know, to me, it's a little bit of a different story. So I always got the sense, particularly after knowing you and hearing how you speak, that you're a little bit more like this creative director. You know, you curate all this stuff, you know, and you curate how they go together. But like you saying, like you want to like dress kids, like to me, there's there's this title almost of like creative directing and being a part of like the guts and the veins that go out into society and interact with each other. Because like if your shirt is on some kid who's at a concert for an upcoming DJ, like it's a communication thing, you know?
It makes me happy.
It makes you happy, you know? But I think I get the sense that you're a little bit more like a creative director in that sense, you know?
Look, to me, I have to keep myself inspired, because if not, again, it turns into my work. I got to stay true to myself. I have done, since I'm 15, I had my first store. I have done all those steps. I had the minimal store with the da-da-da. I had the Eames
chair. You did that already?
Yes, of course.
And how was that?
It was great.
Okay, so you never felt like you were suffering from that?
No,
like,
I was.
Okay, good.
And I loved it, and I enjoyed it. But now, I don't want to go back. Maybe I'll go back to minimalism or brutalism again. But right now, I'm enjoying this crazy thing because it's the evolution of my taste. Like, everything has to be impeccable, but at the same time, everything has to be like not necessarily minimalist. Like, it has to be maximalist in an impeccable way, that it still makes sense. At least this project, Rcnstrct. That's the kind of like the idea of the whole thing. I'm not knocking on other people. It's just where my mind as a creative is. Like, and this is what this project or this song or this film is, you know?
Yeah.
I like other stuff too. And my friends, most of them, don't dress crazy or are as crazy visually, or they don't communicate, you know, like that. But even me, I don't wear half of the stuff I make. I don't. I make it for kids that would appreciate it, understand, and find something here, you know? But yes, to go back to the art, me hanging out with all these artists and learning and understanding their expression, I became a better designer of clothes by surrounding me by directors, artists, chefs, manufacturers, and you know, and that's what LA kind of brings you, like all this stuff and all this passion. But to find my individuality, I didn't want to be like them. I don't want to be a sneakerhead. I don't want to be a denim head. I don't want to be a military guy. I don't want to be a vintage guy. I don't want to be.
Because you're wearing all three of them right now.
No, but I don't want to be defined by one.
Right, of course.
Of course, I like everything. That's where I come from.
Yeah.
But I want to be like this other new version of myself. Like, I want to keep evolving, you know? And I feel like, at least today, is not minimalism, you know? Like, if I made a film, I want to make sure everything is like crazy, you know?
Of course, and I'm curious, I mean, I would love actually to get your idea about how this came about, because we talked last time about cycles and art cycles and trends, and we all know things loop back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So, you know, I started getting really into this, let's just say like your style of clothing, but in video form, photo form, when I started as well, really 04, 05, 06, college days, you know. And it was never something I would explicitly try to put in a music video, commercial work. I would never try to push this stuff in there. And the minute I did, it'd be like, yo, that doesn't look professional though, right? It's like the lines and stuff. Like, I feel like when I came up, really 2010 to 2018, it was all about drawing in the lines, you know. Don't draw outside the lines, you know, keep them inside. Everything's got to be very designed as best as you can, perfect. And then it's like right before COVID and like during that pandemic stage and whatever, something changes and things go inside out and videos become like your fucking floor, okay? Rap videos get insane and it's like, oh, this rotoscoping thing, which is deemed unprofessional, that's dope. Like these little artifacts and stuff that normally we'd be like, how do we get away these artifacts? This is terrible. Now it's like, nah, keep going with the artifacts, you know? Like,
we were just talking about like how we could make a video overexposed. It would be like tight.
Right.
And then the normal, same with me with denim or with art. Like, we paint on the craziest stuff, or we use the denim inside out, or as long as it's still functional, we make all this crazy stuff. Same with, hey, maybe we should make a video, you know?
But let me ask you, do you think that this is just the nature of the time we're in and commercialism and, you know, do you think, because even music's starting to sound like the music I grew up in. Like, I'm starting to hear in music sound and be communicated in a very, very similar fashion to what I grew up with, you know, in the mid-90s. Like you know, even the way the fisheye's back, the fisheye lens is fucking back. It's like, but is this undeniably always just how it is? It's inevitable, or do you feel like certain political, social movements, do movements outside of art bring us back into portraying how we feel about society in that way. Does life feel more chaotic now? That's why we're drawing outside of the lines. Like, fuck it.
I think that the trends is everybody that is looking at the next thing. Like for me, this is the next thing, but it might change. I'm not saying I haven't been wrong because I'm so involved for the next thing. Normally, my next thing is what started from skateboarding art. Like I'm always kind of like a little forward because I'm so exposed to it. I'm in front lines with what so. But right now we're like in a weird moment where people are like, this is too crazy. But anyways, at least at the end of the thing is there's so many places to shop. Like you could have anything now. Yep. But I feel because what's happening politically in this country, I think all the made in the US, people are, oh wait, what does made in the US mean? So it's gonna be probably, people are going to be more proud and things about it. I'm not talking, if there's any positive thing about all the shit that's happening, maybe that's the one, that there's going to be stuff, because made in the US shit was really, I'm really fan of Americana and made in the US products. So.
Well, we live in a crazy world, man. I just put two and two together. It's like everything that surrounds us probably comes, literally my apartment is made from a bunch of stuff which is not from this continent, I'll tell you that much. And it's from designers and manufacturers around the world, probably mostly Asia, right? And then it's like, you go, it's interesting, you go to Europe and it's just funny because you hear Trump talking about all this shit and he said something which oddly made me think. He was like, you don't see any American cars in Europe. And I'm like, that's so interesting to start thinking about this. What are the products that Africans are surrounded by in their house? Where are they coming from? People in Ecuador, people in New York, people in London. The globalized world has made this situation where we now live in visual manifestations that are from countries and places all around the world. And it's so sure, maybe you had this design for a rug or a sheet or a chair, and you sent it to China and a Chinese factory made it for you and they made a lot for you and that's how you worked out the business dealing. But they still made it. They touched it. It's coming from their influence. And that's what's so interesting about the global situation right now. And if it changes, that becomes a way different, that becomes a whole, I'm sure if that changes and it becomes more like every man for themselves, which is how it kind of seems the 21st century is going, I'm sure that does something very interesting, good or bad, for design and for what's coming out of different cultures, right?
The reason that I was passionate about made in the US is because it's so hard to find. Because since the 90s, we haven't been making things in the US. And then you have to be sensitive to, for example, again, my friend MD, he owns factories in Asia and China, and they're feeding families. There's people that import those products in the US that have their infrastructure. So it's a disaster for a lot of industries. Yeah. And then it's exciting for others, we can only try to survive and make it through whatever and try to be creative and make the best for your own creativity, Obviously, I'm Mexican, so I'm stressed out about this migrant stuff. All my friends, everybody in LA is from somewhere. So it's not a positive thing in general. Hearing people worrying about migration and importing and export is a disaster.
Yeah.
Especially in what I do, even for artists, everything, even the paints are not even made here, So we're going through a hurricane of things and I'm excited to see what happens because things that are really bad or really chaotic is where we will get more creative as humans, I feel like. So we just have to keep true to ourselves, I guess, right?
Well, you also said a key word which I think is very important, adaptability. And it's first off, just as an artist, to make it commercially or however, to just make a living off of this for decades, you have to be adaptable. That's the only way. It's the only way. And like
Hustle
simple things too.
and
Like it's interesting because I think that word is so important for the 2020s, just as a time period and a moment in time, being adaptable. But like that's why I think artists are made for this decade, because you have to be adaptable in order.
Bro, there's this artist that I know that all his work was this software. He would move the thing on a graphic thing, and he would turn, and then he would outline. And basically all his work is that. And then he has to have a computer that he can't update because he can't make that shit anymore.
Right.
But it's just such a crazy thing.
Dude, I bought an old iMac just so I could go back to the software I used to use in high school.
See?
Like, and I got it sitting, and it's like, I plan on working on it, but what's crazy is it's like, I let it sit for so long. It's in my room. I got the CDs.
You don't have the cables to plug it down.
You know what, dude? I got everything. Here's the thing. I never was motivated past the nostalgia. Now I'm motivated because what I can do is like this one program, it's this like really janky 3D software. We're talking 03, 02, early computer graphics software. And it's like, now it's like, oh, you know what I can do? I can make them and then I can run them through AI and fucking animate them. And now it's giving me purpose, you know? So it's like sometimes you get the spark to do shit like that, but you don't jump on it, right? Like I bought all these VHS cameras years ago. I didn't do anything with them. And then I started shooting them and it changed my whole
Dude,
aesthetic.
you just remind me of something. So I've been looking at my old files to get photos from Barracuda time so we could hopefully put them in this video, right? And when I first got the iPhone, I used to do my screens of emojis, the vintage emojis. And I would screenshot it, or funny conversations, I would screenshot them, right? And now that I'm looking through my files, I'm looking at these patterns of emojis and how the old school emojis were cool to me. And now they're so like, they look so AI now, they're not as cool. So I was like, dude, I gotta do an art show of all these screenshots of all these patterns that I used to make of whatever.
With old school emojis.
With old school emojis, because I used to screenshot it, or like funny ass conversations with people. But this is like 2000, probably 7.
I didn't even remember what they used to look like back
They
then.
looked the same, but they were like more
Pixelated?
They were pixelated.
Yeah.
And they were more minimum. They were cool as fuck. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
I gotta show you. But I screenshot them because I thought it was cool. And I would, when I was bored, I would make like this my screen of random patterns and shit. But the new ones are not as cool, I feel.
No, they're not. They're not. They're more like Disneyfied, I feel like. Like, because what happened was this, is I think
Of course
because
you
they-
do that, because that's what you do.
Well, and they started, like, they're like, you could tell they have a little bit more complexity to like shading even. Like, you could tell, even though being minimal and being pedestrian in how they're supposed to be, right? That's the intention. You could tell there's like a little bit of shading going on, a little bit more design, like if there's supposed to be motion to the emoji, like the guy who's freaking out, they put the little lines around him, and it's like the level of thought that goes into making sure these emojis just go up a little bit more in their expressiveness is amazing, because I truly think emojis, you can communicate purely through emojis now. I mean, which is amazing to me, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy.
And
that's how I communicate.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, for sure. Like a 5-line text has a bunch of, I'm saluting motherfuckers, I'm praying to them, I'm getting everything in
And
there.
it saves you, because sometimes you're like, you don't know what to say, you're like, yeah.
Right. You guys got to the point now where it's like, if you give me a thumbs up, I take that as passive aggressive. It's like, thumbs up? That's it? That's all you got from me?
See,
no
that
heart,
I didn't know. Yeah, now I know. No, but
no fire emoji,
Yeah.
Thumbs
No,
up.
but at least I reply. Like everybody's like, bro, we're gonna email you. I'm like, yeah, don't email me. Text me, and if I see it, I'll put something that I saw it. I have friends that are like creatives or like production, and they don't even, you just don't hear about it for like a month,
But do you think that they're protecting their aura?
They are.
And I respect that, and I have so much
I
trouble
don't
doing
respect that.
You don't?
I need, bro, everybody has their phone on their hand.
Yeah.
Come on. We use our phone for everything. Like, you need to say at least, okay, maybe it's personal. I always
think
reply.
over communicating and
Not over
receiving-
communicating. Look, if you're busy, you're gonna get back to them in 20. Like when you go pee, you look at your phone.
Yeah.
Like you know. And don't get me wrong. But that's just me. my email has like 1,000 unreplied emails, like at least. Like I can't. I only look them in the morning, and I'm like, I get overwhelmed. So yeah, if you want to hit me, you got to text me.
But that's been the LA story for me, bro. It's like any kind of business has got to be done over text message.
I know, it
which
sucks.
is crazy to me.
But for like real people, like business, nothing is like, nothing is through text.
I just came off a project where, and this is something I thought about. It's like the communication, the creative direction, creative communication happened purely through text, And it's interesting because like I think about like what if I were to be on set and I'm the director and I got to communicate to everybody stuff to do, but I'm doing it through text, right? Like that's how I compare, that kind of like artistic thing. Imagine you have been contracted to make a bunch of clothes for some brand. You never talk though. You're just getting emails back and forth, and then you send them your first iteration, and they send you an email back and forth. Like, I feel like it's very common, and it makes sense because everybody's got so much shit to do. It's like, dude, a phone call, man, really?
Well, how did they make, like Fellini, how did Fellini make this fucking movies,
This is what I'm curious.
Or these
yes.
buildings in New York or
Correct.
in Paris? Like,
Correct.
how did they do that?
That was like something else I wanted to touch on, just like the nature of collaborations, and I just feel like in everything, but particularly in art, there's no particular way that collaboration happens, but I'm always interested in the dominant nature of the collaboration, and like what your experience is, and like working with people who are like, no, just do your thing, versus people who are like, no, like we know what you do, this is what you're going to do for us,
Yeah.
Like and it's interesting because sometimes the other way works out better. What's been the majority of your collaborations? Like, is it people coming to you and like saying, hey, give us your sauce? Or is it people being like, this is what we want to do, and this is what we want you to do?
When it's like a big corporation, normally they have an agency. And the agency pitches the corporation or the big brand what the result's gonna be. So basically, they already know what they want for you. They don't want any changes, and they just want maybe to have the street association, in my case, but they want it in a certain way, and it's not even negotiable. But the money's so good that sometimes you just give them what you want.
Do you feel like when it comes out, whenever the thing comes out and you see it, do you feel a separation? You're like, not only is it not me, but I don't even feel connected to it. Like, do you ever?
No, I love it because
love it.
other people that are gonna, it's like you put your foot in the door. Like you get, I don't want to name any brands, but like I've worked with some brands that I have no association with that I obviously like, but then they learn about me, and if they like it a little bit, they learn about the brand and the whole thing. So it's all a blessing. Like I don't think it's a mistake. It's a mistake to pass on, unless you really don't like the brand or you don't really have anything to do with.
Yeah.
Like,
You know what's tough though too, man, is when
I said no before.
you said no before.
100%. Yeah.
Which is important.
A lot of times. Most of the times.
Really?
Yeah. I would say more.
What are the pretenses of a no for you with a collaboration?
Well, it doesn't have any, or if it has like strong beliefs that are against mine or the brand's integrity, it's like an automatic no. There's not even a waste, like there's a lot of things that you are not, pro, so you automatically are gonna be like, or I don't have anything to do with, or it might offend someone, like, or
Yeah. Okay.
or it's not my lifestyle. It's not a true collaboration if you have nothing to do with it.
Do you feel like saying no more often than not, when your gut tells you to say it, leads you to the authentic path, and potentially more successful path? Because like, I think what happens is a lot of times when you start out, you can't say no. That's a paycheck. Like, this is the dream, right? So you're gonna do it and do it and do it, and maybe you start saying no when like the money doesn't work out, right? It's hard, I think, to get to the point where you're saying no because it just doesn't match the direction I'm going.
I think it's more about believes, because as a creative, we can come up with a concept for anything. We could tell a story about anything. Like, it's almost easy for us to come up with a concept, with the design, with the storytelling, because that's what the industry does. So, me automatically, they tell me the craziest. I come up with ideas all the time. When I say no, is when it's something that the brand doesn't really like, that I don't really have any tie or association, or if it's just pure money and it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, look, don't get me wrong, I want to make the money, but when it just really doesn't make any sense, it doesn't.
I find it's really hard sometimes when you're collaborating and you don't understand why somebody came to you. You're an artist, and particularly if you're an artist that just throws paint on the wall and like that's how you do your thing, and people are inspired by that and people want to be a part of that swirl of creativity. And then they come to you like, yo, what you do is dope. But you still don't understand what they're talking about. And you got to bring it out of them. Like, what is it you like, though, about what I do, And then maybe they can't articulate it, And I think a lot of times a collaboration is based upon knowing what that person, that company, that whatever, likes about you and what you do. And sometimes that's hard to communicate.
Look, I have friends, people that I appreciate and like and love, and that I think they're incredibly talented, that have wanting to collaborate with me. And I was like, I love everything about you and your work, but are we going to sell 100 pieces of our collaboration, or 300 pieces? Is my client going to buy this, or is your client, or are we just doing it because we want to do it? Like, sometimes people think that collaborating is like just like having a coffee. And at the end of the thing, you have to make sure that you're going to actually sell the stuff. If you're making product and you're going to tell a story, you also have to think that your community is going to want to be associated and wear it and be proud of it.
Sometimes you don't know, right? Sometimes you don't know if it's going to pop. Sometimes you don't know.
Right.
And you just, right? And that's the scary part, is being able to take that leap and maybe spending all that time on something that didn't work out.
Yes. But if we're really creative, we have to find the right choices, right? That's what being creative is, I feel like. Like curating the right moves.
Right. Well, speaking of actually curating, there's one definitely thing I wanted to talk about, which I think is not the forefront of what you do, but to me is one of the most important things, is the curation of all these objects and art, and it's just insane. I mean, because everything in the store is for sale, even though it feels like a museum. It feels like an art museum, of like all pop cultural related 70s, 80s. I see a Keith Haring up there.
I think it's the communication. When people come in and it smells a certain way and you're playing a certain music and you see a different bunch of codes, like Ron English, Cause, vintage something, you come into this universe, and it's communication. It's basically like an atmosphere of a feeling that I'm trying to create. I mean, I've never worded it before, but it really is, My better shit is locked up in storage. Like, I'm not trying to be pretentious. Like, all my better stuff is guarded.
Art, collectibles, you're saying that is that you store, you keep in storage. That's okay. Gotcha.
My true collectibles and grails are not even in my house. My wife doesn't let me fucking put everything in my house.
Well, this is a good.
But I mean, I have cool stuff in my house, but like all the shit that I really love and I'm obsessed with, I don't even want the light to touch it.
Great point. So this is where I'm getting at. It's like, I'm getting to that point where I'm like, oh man, shouldn't I just get a small locker to put these prints in? And it's like, wait, I got these prints because I thought it looked cool. I was going to frame it. Now I'm afraid to take it out of the tube it came to me in.
I always save the box in like my storage, but we bought a 4-foot from Cause, and the box was so big, it was the size of a refrigerator. And, it was a lot of money, and we were like, you know what, let's just throw it. We didn't know it had a code inside the box, and we threw it away, and no one picked it up. It rained, we cracked it, we got finally rid of it. And now a Cause with a box is like $150,000, that's 4-foot. and we don't have the box. You know, he made 200 only, and then he made another one, another 200 in a different colorway, and then he did dissect it. So it's a huge. He's super smart, like strategically. I feel like, you know.
And he's consistently done this. You're saying he's consistently had these small batch. I mean, some of them are more than 250 though, right? Like there's some calls which are like in the higher numbers, right, in terms of series.
Well, he has so much demand that he makes like the non, you know, what does he call it? Basically, there's like I forgot the name right now, but basically he puts them on the website, he makes them, and he's able to run them again if he chooses.
Okay.
So, but they're not the bigger ones, and the ones from like early 2000s are the ones that are where the money is, because there's, I think, 500 of each.
Do you think that this, you know, it's interesting, I don't know if you follow vintage toys and stuff, like wrestling figures in plastic.
I love that stuff.
Me too. Now, do you feel
The
like
Mexican wrestling ones, though.
like knockoffs, you mean, or
The
Mexican
vintage
wrestlers?
ones, yeah, Mexican vintage.
Because you know, Mexican knockoffs for like '90s toys are really popping now too.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. They even have the
Ninja
names
Turtles
and
and
everything.
shit.
Yes.
Yeah, really popping, which is hilarious. But it's like, where do you think this stuff goes? Like a Ron English McDonald or like Cause? Are these like? Do you feel like these are future Grail art pieces? Do these pieces of plastic essentially continue to? And keep in mind, I fill my room with these pieces of plastic, so nobody values shit like. I'm a collector of casino dice. Like I like.
Wow.
I'm okay with like cheap material for some reason. I'm just attracted to the design, you know.
Right.
But it's like, where do they go? Some things are already so expensive. Is there?
I don't think they're gonna ever go down. Like the original Medicom Futura toy, like for the Bear Bricks, the original old. Now everybody's into Bear Bricks, and I think they're kind of in trouble now. But the old school ones are always gonna go up. I think we would all agree that definitely the old school stuff, all the toys. Have you seen like an unopened Nirvana record? It's worth like thousands of dollars.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, and okay, that's an unopened record. It's like, if you get to the point in 50 years from now when you just can't even play that dough. Here's my question. When you get to the point when the generation that first consumed that, right, Nirvana, 90s, now their kids maybe wear the Nirvana shirt. Those same people who consume Nirvana, they have kids who know Nirvana was, they're listening to the music. Oh, this is dope, this is what my parents listened to, but it's still dope, right? It's like when I listened to Led Zeppelin, I knew my mom listened, but I still thought it was cool, you know? Maybe another generation further understands Nirvana. I don't know, in like 30 years, is Nirvana not only relevant, but like, do people even really care enough that, you know, all the things that go along with it, the expensive vintage shirt or the unopened this?
I think so. I think Led Zeppelin is always going to be the best, you know, Nirvana, Radiohead, like.
But it requires that their staying power in culture is so strong that it can just continue decades and decades of constant transformation of the new and the shiny and the cool, you know?
I mean, look at Beethoven. Like, we don't even know exactly what he looks like, and we're still like, I mean, you can't, it's undeniable. You know? Music has that power, and objects have those powers. Like, I collect shit from, not collect, but if I see something that I like, the Michelin Man original from it's my favorite, you know?
Do you have it?
Of course, we have like multiples in the store. I think we're all especially because of the internet, we're all attracted to all this stuff, and then we just geek out and we learn about it, and then we want it, and I don't think that's going away. And collectible toys, definitely not going away.
I like your optimism with up only in terms of art. It's one of the things that, like, you know, I even have like Nintendo in cases, right?
Damn.
And
With the
it's
box
like,
and everything?
oh yeah. And it's like, I'll look at it and I'll be like, why did I buy it? I'm like, the market's so small anyway. Will the market, the constant conversation in retro video games, vintage video games is like, will the market be here in the next generation?
Yes.
I don't know.
Look, it might go down. Like, for example, again, Bear Bricks look at how much the Macs are, the unopened iPhone are like all this like technological stuff. Like, there's a market for it, and there's only a couple of nerds that saved it. So, will it take more than 10 years? Maybe. The problem is, like everybody tells me, okay, so you have the storage, right? That costs you $6,000 or $8,000 a year. Is your shit gonna be worth more? The answer is no, not in 1 year, but in 20, yeah.
Right.
You know, and you only need 30% of the stuff that go up on price. So it'll work out, you know. Plus, you're not living with the whole clutter. But
Right.
I think it's a good investment, and it's proven to me the last 30 years. Like, for example, Umbo furniture, like Italian 70s furniture. I used to buy it for $1,000, sell it all the time. Now they're $25,000, like a, you know, the plastic stuff. Like
Yeah,
those.
yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, where are you headed with the store? What's next? What's next for Rcnstrct? Like, what is the vision?
Well, we're going to continue doing what we're doing because that's how, you know, it would be dumb for us to move away now that it's actually connected to the rest of the world. But we're also using dead stock fabrics. Like, we're also using rolls of fabrics that haven't been used for 20 years and incorporating them because there's so much waste, you know? And we're also using a lot of other brands' old inventory. We're going to continue doing that. Now it's harder to find real Americana to work on because now there's a huge demand for it.
What tangible things can you tell me are coming to Rcnstrct? You're going to keep doing your thing, right? The vision's going to stay the same, the execution, but any other special?
We're always changing a little bit. Like, we're moving things around all the time. But one of the things for spring, summer is we're going to have people having coffee and drinks and having different DJs and little shows in store on the weekends and stuff. I feel like it's our responsibility to bring back a little bit of positiveness, and I want people to
community
use
too, because it seems like everything I hear from you is all about community.
Well, I want people to use this space creatively, you know. So I feel like I want them to come and use it as a place. We're in such a blessed place demographically that it's spring, summer, everybody's in a good mood. I think we want to, post-COVID, we want to start using.
You want footsteps in here. You want people to be walking in here.
And also, we're working on making. I have a kid. He's a 5-year-old. He's super inspiring. So I'm starting working on Rcnstrct for kids, like not only toddlers, but like just smaller sizes for kids, because I think it's important for them to be recycling too.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that.
You want to address everybody.
I'm trying to address grandmas now.
Well, I mean, grandmas and grandpas are cool now. I mean, my grandmother's.
They're all my friends now, huh?
But I mean, that's a whole other topic. That maybe that's part 3. Like, it's just how is really the age thing has really gone out the window in a lovely, beautiful way. I think.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's
We
a
just
whole.
have more information now.
We have a lot more information, and I think with that information, we find relevancy with each other. Generations find
I think
relevancy.
new generations. I think for like 10 years, people didn't understand or care why shit was there. But I feel like I've noticed that kids are really digging and finding out. I've complained last decade about how people didn't care about why things. Now all these kids want to know the story, who was the creative, who was a part of it, what the artist. And now they can find it, but they're digging again. At least the kids that are here, there's a new generation. And I think there's a new generation of kids that love retail because they haven't been around it, because they've just been getting boxes in the mail.
Yeah.
So I think there's hope.
Well,
I feel
let's
good
end
about
on
it.
that. Hope is around the corner. Never left.
Yes,
Part
sir.
2 is over, and
We'll invite some friends too, right?
next time it's going to be a guest. It's going to be one of your homies.
We'll hear the
He's doing cool
comments and
shit.
see what they want to talk about, because we're just all over the place.
Yeah, we don't know what's going on, honestly. But
Right?
that's the fun of it.
Right.
So. All right.
Let's go.
Boom.